Hello, gentle listener. Welcome to Pets for Sleep. Whether you are returning tonight or finding this quiet corner for the first time, this is a place to slow down, learn something gentle about the animals we love, and let the day soften around you, little by little. Maybe there is a cat somewhere near you now. Maybe one is asleep at the end of the bed, folded into a warm shape, with its tail curved around its paws. Or maybe the house is quiet, and the cat is sitting by a window, watching the dark glass, while only the very tip of the tail moves. It is such a familiar part of a cat that it can almost disappear from notice. The tail follows the cat across the room. It lifts when the cat comes to greet someone. It sways when the cat walks along the back of a couch. It wraps close to the body when the cat settles down to rest. And yet, that long, flexible line behind the cat is not just decoration. It is part of the animal's body, part of its balance, part of its signals, and part of a very old story that began long before cats slept on blankets, windowsills, laundry baskets, or warm places beside human feet. A domestic cat's tail is connected to the spine. Under the fur, there are small bones, muscles, nerves, and joints, all working together. The tail can rise, lower, curl, flick, puff, or rest still. And each of those shapes can tell us something about the cat's body in that moment. Not everything. Cats are never that simple, but something. A tail held upright can be part of a friendly approach. A tail stretched behind the body can help during careful movement. A tail curled close around the paws can become part of a quiet resting shape. If you enjoy these quiet journeys through the lives of animals, you're welcome to subscribe. And if it feels natural, to leave a comment sharing where you're listening from tonight, or which pet is nearby as you listen. It helps other animal lovers find their way to this calm corner of the world, one sleepy companion at a time. The quiet continues here, just as it is. For a cat, the tail belongs to many small moments. A kitten chasing a toy may throw its tail outward as it turns. A grown cat stepping across a fence may let the tail drift from side to side, like a soft balance pole. A cat standing in a doorway may raise the tail almost straight up, with a small curve at the end, as if the whole body has become a gentle question mark. A cat watching a bird through the glass may stay almost perfectly still, while the tail tip gives away that the body is awake, focused, and ready. These motions are easy for humans to notice, because the tail changes the whole outline of the cat. With the tail high, the cat can look open and confident. With the tail low, the cat can look careful. With the tail wrapped around the body, the cat can look settled, contained, and complete. People have watched these shapes for thousands of years. Long before there were cat beds, food bowls, or little toys with bells inside them. Wildcats lived near human settlements where grain stores attracted rodents. Over many generations, some cats became more comfortable living near people. And as cats came closer to human homes, humans had more chances to notice the quiet language of ears, eyes, whiskers, paws, and tails. Still, the tail is older than the house, older than the barn, older than the first cat that ever stepped near a human fire, a storehouse, or a doorway. Many animals with backbones have tails, and each kind of animal has shaped that old body part for its own life. Fish use tails to push through water. Some monkeys use tails while climbing. Dogs use tails in movement and social signals. And cats, with their soft paws, flexible backs, quick turns, and careful steps, carry a tail that fits the life of a small hunter, a climber, a watcher, and a companion. So tonight, the question is simple, but it opens slowly. Why do cats have tails? The answer begins in bone, passes through balance, reaches into ancient evolution, and finally returns to the quiet room, where a cat may already be resting with its tail beside it. A small line of fur and motion, a piece of the spine, a signal other cats can see, a shape humans have learned to read, and maybe, for tonight, a gentle place for the mind to rest. From the outside, the tail looks simple, a soft length of fur, a curve at the edge of the body, a moving line that follows the cat from room to room. Underneath that fur, though, the tail is made from the same kind of structure that holds the cat's back, neck, and chest together. It is bone. More exactly, it is a chain of small bones continuing from the spine. In anatomy, tail bones are called caudal vertebrae. Caudal simply means toward the tail. Vertebrae are the small bones of the backbone, the pieces stacked together to protect the spinal cord and support the body. A cat's spine is often described with a short formula: C7, T13, L7, S3, and CA18 to 23. The letters mark different regions of the backbone. C means cervical, the neck region, where a cat has 7 bones. T means thoracic, the chest region, where 13 bones connect with the ribs. L means lumbar, the lower back, where 7 strong bones help the cat bend, stretch, and gather power before a jump. S means sacral, where 3 bones form the firm area near the pelvis. Then comes CA, the caudal region, with about 18 to 23 tailbones in many cats. The exact number can vary a little from cat to cat. That is why one cat's tail may look a bit longer, thicker, or more tapered than another's. Close to the body, the first tailbones are larger and stronger. They sit near the pelvis, where the hind legs push, climb, leap, and land. Farther along the tail, the bones become smaller. Near the tip, they are tiny compared with the bones at the base. That tapering shape is part of what lets the tail move like a flexible line instead of a stiff rod. A cat lying on a blanket may look completely still, yet the tail holds this quiet architecture inside it. Small bones line up beneath the skin. Joints between them allow bending. Soft tissues around them support each slight curve. The tail can rest in a smooth crescent beside the body, then later lift almost straight up when the cat walks into the room. This means the tail belongs to the cat's central frame. Scientists call that central frame the axial skeleton. The word axial comes from axis, meaning the main line of the body. In a cat, that line begins at the skull, runs through the neck, continues along the back, passes through the pelvis, and reaches into the tail. The cat's tail is the last moving part of that line. When a cat sits with its tail wrapped neatly around its front paws, the tail may look like a border around the body. When the cat rises, that same border becomes part of the spine's motion. The base of the tail lifts first. The middle follows. The tip may curl a moment later, as if the movement is traveling through the tail bone by bone. This is why the tail can feel so alive, even when only a few centimeters of it move. A tiny twitch near the end still comes from a real chain of joints, muscles, and nerve signals. It is easy to think of a cat's tail as separate because it trails behind the animal. The body seems to end at the hips, and the tail seems to begin after that. Anatomy shows a smoother story. The hips, sacrum, and tail form one connected region. A cat stepping down from a chair carries that connection with every movement. The back lowers, the hind legs reach, the tail changes angle behind them. Everything belongs to the same living frame. This hidden structure also explains why the tail matters in ordinary handling and care. Because the tail is connected to the spine and nerves, it is a sensitive part of the body. A relaxed cat may let the tail lie loose across a cushion. An alert cat may draw it closer or lift it away. The shape on the outside reflects something real happening underneath. Bone gives the tail form. Joints give it bend. Living control gives it expression. For now, the resting cat can stay almost motionless in the room, its tail curved beside it like a soft mark at the end of the body. Inside that soft curve is the final stretch of the backbone. The little bones explain the shape. What remains is the quiet mystery of control. How the cat moves that long line so smoothly, often without even looking at it. That smooth control begins close to the base of the tail, where the small tail bones meet the stronger bones of the pelvis. Around that area, layers of muscle attach to bone. Some muscles lift the tail, others lower it, pull it gently to one side, or curl it into a loose curve. A cat does not need to turn around and study the tail to make this happen. The body already knows where the tail is. This body sense is called proprioception. Proprioception means the body's ability to feel the position of its own parts. A person uses it when walking upstairs without watching every footstep. A cat uses it when a back paw lands on a narrow shelf, or when the tail shifts behind the body, while the eyes stay fixed on a doorway. Inside the tail, tiny sensors in muscles, tendons, and joints send information through nerves. Those nerves carry messages toward the spinal cord and brain. The cat's nervous system then sends messages back out through other nerves, telling muscles when to tighten, loosen, or hold steady. Most of this happens quietly, faster than a person can describe it. A tail tip may twitch once. The base may lift by a few centimeters. A curve may form near the middle of the tail, while the cat keeps staring at the same spot on the floor. This is living control built into the body. Picture a cat stepping along the back of a sofa in a darkened room. The sofa is wide enough for comfort, yet narrow enough to require care. Each paw lands on the soft ridge of fabric. The shoulders move first, then the spine follows in a slow wave. Behind the hips, the tail begins to drift slightly outward. When the cat leans toward the room, the tail may shift the other way. When the front paws pause, the tail may hover for a moment, almost level with the back. The cat's eyes are facing forward. The ears may be listening toward the kitchen. The paws are feeling texture through thick pads of skin. The tail is still taking part. A cat's paws contain many touch-sensitive nerve endings, especially in the pads. Those pads help the cat feel pressure, surface texture, and small changes underfoot. The eyes give distance and motion information. The inner ear, deep inside the skull, helps with balance by sensing head position and movement. The spine and tail add their own stream of position signals. Together, these systems let the cat move with a calm precision that can look almost effortless. A windowsill gives another quiet example. A cat may step onto the sill, turn around in a space only a little wider than its body, and lower itself near the glass. During that turn, the tail may swing in a slow arc. The motion helps the body manage weight and direction. The back feet adjust. The hips rotate. The tail follows the movement, then corrects it. A small change in tail angle can help the cat keep its center of weight over the surface beneath it. The center of weight is the point where the body's weight is balanced. When that point moves too far to one side, an animal must correct itself. Cats correct with their paws, legs, back, eyes, inner ear, and tail all working together. The tail's movement can be gentle, yet the control behind it is exact. Even a relaxed tail is under some control. A sleeping cat may let the tail lie loose along the blanket. A drowsy cat may flick the very end when a sound comes from the hallway. A standing cat may lift the tail before taking a step toward a familiar person. Each motion comes from the same basic system: bones that can bend, muscles that can pull, nerves that carry signals, and body sense that keeps track of position. This gives the tail a special kind of quiet intelligence. It does not think on its own. It moves as part of the cat's whole nervous system. The cat can walk, pause, turn, climb, and settle, while the tail keeps answering the body's smallest changes. That living control belongs to the house cat on the sofa, and it also belongs to a much older story. Long before cats crossed windowsills or slept beside warm lamps, animals with backbones were already using tails in water, on land, and through branches. The oldest part of that story reaches far beyond the sleeping cat in the room. It reaches back to animals with backbones, the group scientists call vertebrates. A vertebrate is any animal with a spine, from a salmon moving through cold water to a lizard warming itself on stone, from a horse standing in a field to a cat resting on a windowsill. Long before the first true cats appeared, the basic body plan of a head, spine, limbs or fins, and tail had already been shaped in ancient animals. Some of the earliest vertebrates lived in water more than 500 million years ago. Their tails helped push the body forward. In many fish, the tail is joined to a caudal fin, the flat fin at the rear of the body. When a trout bends its body from side to side in a stream, the tail and caudal fin help drive water backward, moving the fish forward. The word caudal still carries that same meaning. It means toward the tail. In a cat, caudal vertebrae are the small tailbones. In a fish, the caudal region is the rear part of the body that helps power swimming. Across time, the same general area of the body has been reshaped again and again. Evolution often works by revising old structures. A body part that begins with one use can slowly become useful in other ways, generation after generation. The tail is one of those ancient structures. In water, it can help with swimming. On land, it can help with balance. In trees, it can help with climbing or turning. Across open ground, it can become a signal other animals can see. Different animals show how flexible this old body plan can be. An alligator moves its heavy tail from side to side while swimming, using it as a strong engine behind the body. A leopard gecko stores fat in its thick tail, which can help the animal survive when food is scarce. A spider monkey has a grasping or prehensile tail that can hold branches like an extra limb. A horse uses its tail to brush at flies and send visible signals to other horses nearby. Each tail has its own shape because each animal has its own life. The cat's tail belongs to this wider pattern. It does not push through water like a salmon's tail. It does not grasp a branch like a monkey's tail. It does not store large amounts of fat like a desert lizard's tail. It follows the needs of a small, flexible mammal that watches, climbs, turns, stalks, and balances. That is the quiet lesson hidden inside the cat's body. The tail is ancient, yet it has become very specific. Its bones are part of the same basic vertebrate plan found across many animals with spines. Its use has been shaped by the life of cats. A house cat sleeping on a blanket carries that long history without any effort. The tail may be lying still beside the hind legs. The body may be warm and loose. The paws may be tucked under the chest. Inside that peaceful shape, there is a structure older than houses, older than barns, older than the first doorway where a cat ever paused beside a person. For hundreds of millions of years, tails have helped animals move through the world behind them. They have pushed water, steadied bodies, stored energy, held branches, brushed insects, and carried signals through the air. The house cat's version is slender, sensitive, and controlled. It can lift in greeting, swing during a careful step, twitch during focus, and curl during rest. All of those uses come from an old animal tool that never stayed frozen in one form. The cat did not invent the tail from the beginning. The cat inherited a tail and carried it into a feline life. That makes the tail feel even more connected to the animal resting nearby. It belongs to the cat's spine, and it also belongs to a deep line of animal bodies stretching backward through time. Within that long history, the cat family would shape the tail in its own way, through climbing, stalking, and careful movement across uneven places. Inside that narrower branch of animal history, the tail began to belong to a more feline kind of body. The cat family is called Felidae. That name includes domestic cats, lions, tigers, leopards, lynx, ocelots, and many smaller wildcats that move quietly through grass, trees, snow, or stone. Long before the house cat reached a windowsill, early cat-like animals were already taking shape with flexible backs, padded feet, sharp teeth, and bodies suited for careful movement. One important early form was Proailurus lemonensis. Its name means something close to before the cat. It lived during the Miocene epoch, a period that began about 23 million years ago, when forests, grasslands, and many modern mammal groups were changing across Earth. Proailurus went extinct roughly 20 to 22 million years ago. It was not a house cat. It was not a lion. It belonged near the beginning of the true cat story, close to the root of the family that would later spread into many different feline shapes. One reconstruction describes Proailurus as roughly the size of an ocelot. An ocelot is a spotted wildcat from the Americas. larger than most house cats, with a long body and a low, smooth way of moving. Proelurus has been estimated at about 38 centimeters at the shoulder. That is a little over 1 foot high. A cat that size would have been small enough to move through branches and undergrowth, yet strong enough to climb, grip, and spring across short spaces. The bones of Proelurus give clues about how it lived. Its feet and ankles suggest it was at least partly arboreal. Arboreal means tree-living, or spending a meaningful part of life in trees. An animal that moves in trees needs a special kind of control. A branch does not give the broad, flat support of a floor. Bark can slope under the paws. A limb can narrow, bend, or end suddenly in open air. Every step asks the body to adjust. In that kind of world, a tail becomes more than a trailing shape. It helps the animal manage the body behind the shoulders and hips. A cat-like animal moving along a branch must keep its weight over a narrow line. The paws find contact points. The claws hold surface. The back bends. The tail can shift behind the animal as the body leans, turns, or pauses. This does not mean the tail worked alone. The feet, spine, eyes, and inner ear all mattered. The tail belonged to that larger system of balance. Modern cats still carry this design in ordinary rooms. A house cat stepping along the thin top of a fence is using a body shaped by many generations of animals that had to place their feet carefully. A cat turning on the back of a chair is not copying Proelurus in any direct way, but the old pattern is still visible. The shoulders stay low. The hips follow with quiet control. The tail floats behind the body, changing angle as the cat shifts weight from paw to paw. Early cat bodies also carried the beginning of another feline habit: moving with patience before speed. Cats often do not rush into motion right away. They watch first. They lower the body. They measure the distance with their eyes and posture. When the movement finally comes, it may be quick, but it begins with control. A flexible tail fits that style of life. It can help during the slow approach across uneven ground. It can help during a turn on a narrow surface. It can help after a leap, when the body must settle again. The house cat's tail, then, is not only a feature of indoor life. It carries the shape of an animal family that learned to move through difficult spaces with care. From ancient forests to modern furniture, the same basic need appears again. Place the body well, keep the weight centered, and make the next step possible. A tail that could bend, lift, and shift would be useful in that kind of body. The early cat-like form gives the tail its first clear job in the feline story. It helped a light, careful animal move where the ground was narrow, angled, or uncertain. That usefulness becomes easiest to see when a modern cat crosses a thin surface and the tail begins to act like a quiet counterweight. A modern cat can show that old usefulness in a very ordinary place. The top of a fence, the narrow edge of a shelf, the back of a couch, a strip of wood in a laboratory, only about 5.1 centimeters wide. That is roughly the width of 2 adult fingers held together. In 1998, researchers studied 4 domestic cats as they crossed a narrow beam about 3.7 meters long. That length is close to 12 feet. long enough for the cats to take several careful steps before reaching the other side. The beam gave scientists a simple way to study something cat owners see all the time. A cat walking along a narrow surface rarely lets the tail hang without purpose. The paws move in a line. The shoulders stay low and steady. The head faces forward. Behind the hips, the tail shifts with small, precise changes. A counterweight works by moving weight in a way that helps the rest of the body stay balanced. A tightrope walker may carry a long pole for the same basic reason. When the body leans slightly left, the pole can help bring balance back toward the center. A cat carries its own smaller version behind it. The tail is lighter than the whole body, yet it sits far enough behind the hips to help make corrections. When the cat's body shifts one way, the tail can move the other way. This helps the cat keep its center of weight over the narrow place beneath its paws. The center of weight is the point where the body's weight balances. On a wide floor, that point can shift a little without trouble. On a fence rail or beam, a small shift matters more. A paw may be only a few centimeters from the edge. The cat's body answers by adjusting quickly. During the narrow beam study, some trials included a beam that moved sideways. That moving beam created a sudden balance problem. The cats responded with tail motion, using the tail to help control the body, as the support beneath them changed. A person watching slowly might see the tail sweep, lift, or swing behind the cat. Inside the movement, physics is happening in a quiet animal way. One useful idea is angular momentum. That term means the turning motion of a body. When a cat begins to tip or rotate, the tail can move to help control that turning. The cat's body does not need to solve an equation. Nerves, muscles, joints, eyes, paws, and the inner ear work together in real time. A small motion of the tail helps guide the larger body back towards steadiness. Picture a cat crossing the top of a wooden backyard fence at dusk. The board may be only a little wider than the cat's paw. A breeze moves leaves nearby. The cat steps forward, placing one front paw in front of the other. The hind paws follow the same narrow path. If the shoulders drift slightly toward the yard, the tail may swing toward the house. If the cat pauses to look down, the tail may rise until it is almost level with the back. The correction looks soft, yet the timing is exact. This is why the tail can seem almost thoughtful. It is responding to the body's smallest changes. A shelf gives the same lesson indoors. A cat may walk behind books, pass a lamp, and turn near the wall. The tail curves away from objects, then follows the hips through the turn. The paws feel the shelf. The eyes measure distance. The tail keeps adjusting behind them. Every part of the cat is sharing the work. The tail is especially easy to see because it moves through open space. That visible motion makes balance feel graceful to human eyes. A cat crossing a narrow beam is using the same basic idea as a cat crossing a fence, a stair rail, or the back of a sofa. The surface changes. The body's task stays familiar. Keep the weight centered. Place the paws with care. Let the tail answer the small lean before the lean becomes too large. This gives one of the clearest reasons cats have tails. The tail helps the cat move through narrow, raised, and uncertain places with more control. Yet walking carefully is only part of feline motion. A cat can also turn in a flash, spring from stillness, twist in the air, and land with all four paws gathering under the body. A careful walk can become a sudden burst of motion in less than a second. A cat may be sitting on the floor, still as a small statue, watching a toy mouse near the leg of a chair. The head lowers a little. The shoulders settle. The hind legs fold under the body, gathering force against the floor. Then the cat springs. For that brief moment, the tail belongs to a whole moving machine. The back bends. The hips drive forward. The front paws reach. The claws may extend just enough to grip fabric, wood, or carpet. The tail lifts behind the body, adjusting as the cat turns through the air or lands on the chair seat. This is one reason feline movement can look so smooth. The tail helps, but it is working with many other parts at once. A cat's spine has 13 thoracic vertebrae in the chest region, where the ribs attach. Behind those are 7 lumbar vertebrae in the lower back. Those lower back bones help give the cat its long, bending shape. When a cat crouches before a jump, the spine can flex like a spring being prepared. When the cat stretches out in motion, the back lengthens again, letting the body reach farther than it seemed to a moment earlier. The hind legs provide much of the push. A domestic cat's back legs are built for short, powerful bursts rather than long, steady running. The large muscles of the thighs and hips help launch the body upward or forward. At the same time, the shoulders move freely because a cat's collarbones are small and do not form the same firm brace that human collarbones do. That looseness helps the front legs reach, absorb landing force, and move close to the body during tight turns. Claws add another part of the system. When a cat lands on a chair, climbs a curtain, or catches the edge of a blanket, the claws can grip the surface for a moment. Most of the time, a cat's claws rest partly hidden inside the paws. During climbing, play, or landing, muscles and tendons can bring them forward. That quick grip can help the body hold position, while the tail and spine finish the movement. The eyes also guide the leap. Cats are very good at judging motion nearby, especially in low light. Their pupils can open wide in dim rooms, and the eyes face forward enough to give depth judgment. Depth judgment means the brain can compare the view from both eyes to estimate distance. A cat looking from the floor to a chair is measuring the space before it jumps. Deep inside the head, the inner ear helps keep track of balance. Part of the inner ear is called the vestibular system. It senses head movement and position. When the cat turns quickly, this system helps the brain understand where the head is, where gravity is pulling, and how the body needs to correct. The tail answers those corrections with visible motion. During a sharp turn after a toy, the cat may throw the tail outward as the body curves the other way. During a landing, the tail may lift, sweep, or stiffen for a moment as the paws find the surface. During a climb, it may trail behind, then rise as the cat changes angle. Researchers studying animals that move in trees often pay attention to long, mobile tails because branches and narrow supports create constant balance problems. An animal walking on a branch has to manage slipping, tipping, and turning in a space much smaller than a flat floor. Cats carry that same kind of control into the home. A chair back becomes a branch. A bookshelf becomes a ledge. A windowsill becomes a narrow perch above the room. The house has replaced the forest, yet the movement still shows the old design. A cat's tail works like a fine adjustment tool inside this larger system. Spine bends, legs push, eyes measure, inner ear senses balance, paws grip, tail corrects. The beauty comes from timing. Nothing waits for a spoken command. The parts answer one another almost instantly, while the cat seems to move in one calm line from crouch to spring to landing. A toy rolls under the table. The cat turns after it. For a moment, the tail is lifted behind the body, shaping the turn before the paws touch down again. This makes the tail feel important in a practical way. It supports the cat during motion, especially when the movement is narrow, quick, or angled. Short-tailed and tailless cats make that usefulness even more interesting, because many of them still climb, jump, turn, and land with the rest of the feline machine adjusting around a changed tail. A Manx cat can cross a room with the same quiet confidence as any other cat. The back still bends. The paws still place themselves carefully. The eyes still measure the chair, the rug, the open doorway, and the soft landing place. A short tail changes the outline of the animal, yet the rest of the feline body remains deeply skilled. This makes short-tailed cats useful to think about. They show that balance is spread through the whole body. The tail helps, and the cat also has many other tools. A Manx may have only a small stump, or no visible tail at all. The breed is strongly linked with the Isle of Man, a small island in the Irish Sea between Great Britain and Ireland. For generations, people there noticed cats with shortened tails, and the look became part of the island's cat history. Modern genetic studies have connected many Manx short-tailed traits to changes in a gene called T, also known as brachyury. A gene is a set of instructions the body uses during growth. The brachyury gene helps guide development along the back end of the body, including the tail region. In one study of short-tailed Manx cats, about 95% of the cats tested carried one changed copy of this gene. That one copy pattern is called heterozygous. It simply means the animal has two copies of the gene, with one copy carrying the change. The result can be a tail that is shortened, reduced to a small rise of fur, or absent from view. A Japanese bobtail gives a different image. Instead of a long, smooth tail, it often has a short, kinked tail that may look like a little pom of fur. Under the fur, the tailbones can be bent, fused, or shaped in uneven ways. The caudal vertebrae still form the tail region, yet their number and shape can vary from cat to cat. Some Japanese bobtails have tails that curve tightly. Some have tails with several angles. The outside may look round and soft, while the inside is a small chain of changed tailbones. Other short-tailed breeds add more variety. The American bobtail often has a short, flexible tail that may reach only partway down the back legs. The Karelian bobtail, associated with islands between Russia and Japan, is known for a short tail with curves, kinks, or pom-like shape. These cats remind us that tail length is not fixed in every member of the cat family. The body can grow with different tail shapes and still remain fully feline in posture, movement, and behavior. A short-tailed cat turning on a windowsill still uses the eyes to judge distance. The inner ear still senses head position and balance. The spine still bends through the chest and lower back. The paws still feel pressure and texture through the pads. The hind legs still gather force before a jump. Learned movement also matters. A kitten growing up with a short tail learns its own body from the beginning. It practices stepping, climbing, landing, and turning with the shape it has. The nervous system builds habits around that body. By adulthood, many short-tailed cats move through familiar spaces with smooth control. A couch arm, a stair, or window ledge becomes part of that practice map. This gives the tail a more accurate place in the story. The tail supports balance, especially when a cat moves through narrow or unstable places. The tail also belongs to a larger system that includes bone, muscle, vision, touch, and the balance organs inside the skull. Changing the tail changes the system, and the system can often adjust. A long-tailed cat may sweep its tail wide during a turn. A short-tailed cat may rely more on body angle, paw placement, and learn control. Both cats are using the whole body to solve the same quiet problem: how to move cleanly through space. This makes the long tail more interesting rather than less. If cats can adapt to shorter tails, then the common long tail must have kept offering repeated value across ordinary life. Small advantages can matter when they happen again and again. A narrow fence, a sudden turn, a careful landing, a visible signal across a room. The long tail remained common because it could serve the cat in more than one way, and that wider usefulness is where the story begins to open again. Usefulness in evolution can be quiet. A body part can remain common because it helps a little in many ordinary moments. Natural selection is the process where traits that help animals survive and leave offspring tend to appear again in later generations. A trait does not have to solve every problem. It only has to be helpful often enough. For cats, a long tail offered that kind of repeated help. Think of a wildcat moving through scrub, stone, grass, and branches. One day, the tail may help during a turn after a mouse. On another day, it may steady the body on a fallen tree. Later, it may lift behind the body as the cat climbs away from damp ground. Over a lifetime, those small corrections can add up. Across many generations, they can become part of why one body shape remains common. The domestic cat still shows this pattern in smaller, softer places. A fence top behind a house becomes a narrow path. A stair rail becomes a raised line through the hallway. A bookshelf becomes a cliff edge only a few paws wide. A bed frame, a windowsill, or the back of a chair can ask the same old thing from the cat's body. Stay centered, while the surface gives very little room. In those moments, the tail can help with posture. Posture means the way the body holds itself. The tail can rise when the cat needs to make the body longer and more stable. It can curve to one side during a turn. It can stretch behind the body during a careful step. A tiny change in the tail may change how the hips and spine manage the cat's weight. This kind of advantage would rarely look dramatic. A cat does not need to survive a great leap every day for the tail to matter. Useful traits often work through small events repeated many times. A paw placed safely, a turn made cleanly, a landing softened, a climb finished without losing position. A long tail also gives the body more visible shape. This matters because cats do not live as silent machines. They live near other animals, Even wild or solitary cats must sometimes approach, avoid, warn, mate, raise young, or share a place where scents and sounds already say that another cat has been there. A tail is easy to see because it rises above the back, trails behind the body, and moves through open air. A cat crossing a yard with the tail low has a different outline from a cat walking toward another cat with the tail upright. The signal is visible before the animals are close enough to touch noses or brush fur. That visibility gave the tail another kind of value. A structure first useful for movement can also become useful for communication. Evolution often works this way. A body part shaped for one kind of task can take on extra meaning when other animals begin responding to it. A long tail that helps with balance can also become a moving sign. Height, curve, speed, stiffness, and fur position all change what the tail looks like. Other cats can notice those changes. Humans notice them too. Though cats were reading cat bodies long before people began reading them at kitchen doors and bedroom floors. This gives the long tail a stronger place in the story after looking at short-tailed cats. Short-tailed cats show that the feline body can adjust. Long-tailed cats show why the fuller structure remained valuable. The tail supports movement, helps shape posture, and offers a signal other animals can see. Those uses belong to different parts of life, yet they all meet in the same visible line behind the cat. A cat walking across a room may use the tail in a very simple way. The body moves forward. The tail follows in a low curve. Then a person opens a door. Another cat appears in the hall, or a bird lands beyond the window. The same tail that balanced the body a moment ago can lift, pause, flick, or stiffen. Movement becomes information. The animal's state becomes easier to see. That is where the tail begins to enter the social life of cats, because a long, mobile, visible structure gives other cats something to read. From another cat's view, the tail is one of the clearest parts of the body. It rises above the back. It trails behind the hips. It moves through the air where it can be noticed before the animals come close. A cat entering a room may see the tail before it reads the rest of the body in detail. The tail can be high, low, curved, tucked, loose, stiff, puffed, or still. Each shape changes the outline of the animal. A tail held low behind the legs gives the cat a careful, narrow look. A tail lifted high makes the body appear more open from a distance. A tail tucked close can make the cat's shape smaller. A tail with fur standing out can make the whole rear of the animal seem larger. These signals matter because cats often manage space with care. Two cats meeting in a hallway do not need to rush into contact. They can pause several feet apart. They can look, sniff, blink, turn the ears, shift weight, or change tail position before deciding what to do. The tail becomes part of that quiet exchange. Communication does not always require sound. Cats can vocalize, and domestic cats often use meows with humans. But much of cat-to-cat communication is visual, scent-based, and body-based. A cat may leave scent from glands around the cheeks, chin, paws, and tail base. A cat may look directly, turn sideways, or lower the head. The tail adds a visible line to this larger message. In 2021, researchers studying cat visual signals paid close attention to combinations of tail and ear positions. That matters because a tail does not act like a single word label. A raised tail with relaxed ears gives a different impression from a raised tail with a tense body. A flicking tail, beside forward ears and focused eyes, may belong to play or hunting attention. The same kind of motion beside flattened ears, tight muscles, and a body leaning away can carry a different meaning. Cats read the whole animal. The ears are especially important. A cat's outer ears can rotate to help locate sound, and they also change position during social moments. Forward ears can show attention. Sideways or lowered ears can show tension or caution. The eyes add more information through pupil size, blinking, and direction of gaze. Whiskers can shift forward when the cat is interested in something close, such as a toy, bowl, insect, or another cat's face. Body angle matters too. A cat facing straight ahead gives a different signal from one turned sideways near a doorway. Distance changes the meaning of every motion. A tail held high across the room gives another cat time to notice. A tail lashing close beside another cat's shoulder can feel more intense because the animals are already near each other. The same body part speaks differently depending on space. This is why tail language becomes more accurate when it is seen as part of a pattern. The height of the tail gives one piece. The curve gives another. The speed of movement adds more. The ears, eyes, whiskers, paws, and body direction complete the scene. A cat moving toward a familiar cat with a raised tail may be making approach easier. A cat pausing near a strange cat with a low tail may be keeping the encounter slow. A cat whose tail suddenly puffs is showing a body that has become alert and activated. The tail is useful because it is large enough to see and flexible enough to change quickly. It sits at the rear of the body, yet it can show what is happening through the whole animal. Muscles tighten, nerves send signals, fur lifts or smooths down. The cat's outline changes before a sound is made. In a quiet home, this can happen in very small ways. One cat steps into the living room. Another cat looks up from the rug. The first cat's tail rises. The second cat watches the ears, the walk, the speed, and the distance. Nothing dramatic needs to happen. The room has already received information. The tail has become social. Among all the shapes a cat's tail can take, one position stands out in domestic life with unusual clarity. The tail held upright appears again and again when cats approach peacefully, and it has become one of the most recognizable greetings in the feline world. A cat may step through a doorway with the tail rising before the body comes close. The paws move softly over the floor. The ears face forward. The back stays loose. The tail lifts into a clear vertical line, sometimes with a small curve at the tip, like a hook of fur held above the spine. Many people recognize this shape without needing a chart. A cat coming toward a familiar person with the tail upright often feels open, calm, and willing to come closer. In cat behavior, this raised tail approach has been studied as an affiliative signal. Affiliative means friendly or socially connecting. It describes behavior that helps animals approach, tolerate, or greet one another with less tension. For domestic cats, the upright tail can make an approach easier to understand. The cat is still communicating with the whole body, yet the tail gives one very visible clue from several feet away. One important study tested this with cat-shaped silhouettes. The researcher used models that looked like cats from the side. Some models had the tail held up. Others had the tail held down. Domestic cats were more willing to approach the raised tail shape. They moved toward it sooner and with less hesitation than they did with the tail down shape. That result fits what many cat owners notice at home. A cat whose tail rises while it walks toward you often seems to be making the meeting softer. The signal appears before the cat rubs against a leg, steps near a food bowl, or pauses beside a hand. The tail has already changed the feeling of the approach. A later study also connected the tail-up signal with social recognition and status among domestic cats. Social recognition means an animal can tell something about another individual, such as whether it is familiar. Status refers to the way animals manage position and relationship in a social group. Domestic cats are more social than their desert wildcat ancestors in some situations, especially where food, shelter, or human care allow several cats to live near one another. In those places, a clear greeting signal has value. Two cats meeting near a garden wall or feeding area need information before they are close enough to touch. A raised tail can reduce uncertainty. The body looks less hidden. The line of the tail is easy to see. The approaching cat gives the other cat a visible signal that helps the meeting begin more calmly. The upright tail often appears before nose-to-nose sniffing. Cats may also rub cheeks, shoulders, or flanks after a friendly approach. Rubbing can leave scent from glands in the skin, especially around the face and tail base. Those scents help build a familiar shared smell in cats that live together. The raised tail can come first, like a soft opening to the exchange. This is one reason the signal feels so powerful to humans. A person cannot smell the fine scent marks the way a cat can. A person may miss small changes in whisker angle or muscle tension. The upright tail is easy to see. It rises above the back like a simple line in the air. A cat walking across the kitchen with that tail shape gives the human eye something clear to hold on to. The signal is still feline. It is a cat's body speaking in a cat's way. Human beings may experience it as a greeting because it often appears in greeting-like moments. When the cat enters the room, comes to the door, approaches a familiar hand, or walks toward another cat it accepts. A small curve at the tip can make the shape look even more gentle, though the whole body still matters. Relaxed ears, easy steps, soft eyes, and a loose back all support the meaning. The raised tail becomes one of the places where cat communication and human understanding meet. A cat does not need human words to make approach visible. The tail lifts. The body comes forward. The room feels a little easier to read. This clear signal may have become especially useful when cats began living closer together near people, food stores, docks, barns, and courtyards, where many feline paths crossed in the same small spaces. Where many feline paths crossed, a greeting became more than a small social detail. Domestic cats are often described as solitary hunters, and that is true in an important way. A single cat can hunt alone, patrol alone, and rest alone. Its wild ancestors did not need a pack to catch small prey. Mice, birds, lizards, and insects are usually taken by one quiet body, one patient stare, and one fast pounce. Even today, a house cat watching a toy under a chair shows that old pattern. The body lowers, the eyes fix on the target. The tail may hover behind the hips while the cat prepares to move. Yet domestic cats can also live near other cats when food is gathered in one place. That changes the social problem. A cat that can hunt alone may still need to pass another cat near a bowl, a barn door, a garden wall, a dock, or a sleeping corner. When several cats share the same useful space, clear signals become valuable. A raised tail can help make approach easier to read before bodies come too close. This kind of crowded cat life has been seen in many human-shaped places. Grain stores attracted rodents. Barns offered shelter. Docks brought food scraps, ropes, crates, fish smells, and hidden corners. Alleys and courtyards gave cats walls, ledges, drains, and doorways to move through. A feeding place can draw several cats into the same small area, even when each cat still keeps its own habits and preferences. In those settings, the tail helps manage distance. Distance matters deeply to cats. A cat across a courtyard has time to look. A cat 2 feet away near a bowl has far less time. Visible signals can slow the meeting down. They can show whether an approach is calm, cautious, tense, or familiar. A raised tail gives one of the clearest early signals. It appears before nose contact, before rubbing, before the cats are close enough to share scent in detail. Free-ranging cats often use several greeting behaviors together. They may approach with the tail upright. They may sniff noses. They may rub the side of the head, shoulder, or body against another cat. That rubbing is called allo-rubbing. Allo means other, and rubbing means exactly what it sounds like. One cat rubs against another. Allo-rubbing can mix scents between cats that tolerate each other, helping create a shared group smell. At Portsmouth Dockyard in England, researchers observe cats living in a real working environment shaped by people, ships, food sources, and shelter. In those observations, the tail-up signal was the most commonly recorded greeting behavior. That detail matters because it places the upright tail outside the cozy living room and into a practical cat world. The signal was useful where cats had to meet, pass, and recognize one another in a shared place. A dockyard cat, walking between stacked materials and open ground, needed to read other cats quickly. A raised tail could make the first moment of approach softer. No sniffing could follow. Rubbing could happen if the cats were familiar enough. Then each animal could move on, settle nearby, or keep more space. This does not turn cats into pack animals. Domestic cats still keep many solitary habits. They may hunt alone, choose resting places alone, and avoid contact when they prefer quiet. Their social life is flexible. Food, safety, kinship, early experience, and individual personality all shape how close they live to one another. That flexibility is part of what makes the tail-up signal so useful. It can help cats cross the delicate space between being alone and being near others. In a home with 2 cats, the same pattern may happen on a smaller scale. One cat steps into the hallway. The other lifts its head from the rug. A tail rises. The cats pause, sniff, rub, or pass without noise. The hallway becomes a tiny version of a larger cat world, where bodies share information before contact. This is where the tail becomes tied to domestication. The upright tail helped cats manage closeness in places where food and shelter brought them together. Those places were often made by humans. The story now moves toward grain, rodents, settlements, and the long path that brought cats from the edges of human life to the quiet rooms where they sleep today. At the edges of human life, cats found a new kind of landscape. Stone walls gave shelter. Wooden beams gave high places. Stored grain drew small animals into one place, night after night. When people began keeping grain in baskets, clay bins, rooms, and storehouses, they also created a steady home for rodents. Mice and rats followed the food. Wildcats followed the movement of mice and rats. This is one of the quiet roots of cat domestication. Domestication means a long process where some animals become able to live closer to people over many generations. For cats, the process seems to have begun less through direct human control and more through opportunity. People stored food. Rodents gathered. Wildcats that could tolerate the sounds, smells, and movements of human places gained access to prey. The ancestor most closely tied to domestic cats is the African wildcat, often called Felis sylvestris libica. It is a sandy, striped wildcat of North Africa and Southwest Asia, lighter in build than many forest cats, with long legs, large ears, and a ringed tail. Its body already looked familiar in many ways. A person seeing one from a distance might recognize the outline. Pointed ears, narrow face, flexible body, tail trailing behind. During the Neolithic period, when farming spread through parts of the Near East, human settlements began to hold grain in regular places. The Neolithic was the later Stone Age, when many people began growing crops and living in more settled communities. In that world, cats did not need to become barn animals all at once. They could begin as visitors at the edge. A wildcat might pass near a storage area at dusk. A mouse might move under a woven basket. A person might notice the cat without touching it. Over time, the animals that stayed calmer around human activity could feed near settlements more often. This slow arrangement changed the spaces cats used. A field edge became useful. A wall gap became a root. A doorway became a place to pause. A roof beam became a lookout above grain, straw, and packed earth. As more cats used the same places, tail signals became easier for other cats to see. A raised tail near a feeding spot could soften an approach. A low tail near an unfamiliar doorway could keep distance. A tail moving through dim air could tell another cat that the body had shifted from resting to watching. People, living beside these animals, had more chances to notice the same shapes. One of the most famous early signs of human-cat closeness comes from Cyprus. At the Neolithic site of Shilourokambos, archaeologists found a cat buried near an adult human in a grave about 9,500 years old. Cyprus is an island in the eastern Mediterranean, and wildcats were not native there in the same way they were on the mainland. The presence of that cat suggests people had carried cats, or cat-like wild ancestors, across the sea. That detail is small and remarkable. A cat had already become important enough to travel with humans to an island. The burial does not tell us everything about the relationship. It does show that cats were no longer simply distant animals, moving beyond human notice. They had entered the human world closely enough to be placed near a person in death. The living scenes behind that moment were probably simple. Feet on packed earth, grain stored near a dwelling, a cat moving along a wall at night, a tail visible in lamplight or moonlight before the body vanished into shadow. Across thousands of years, this arrangement deepened. Cats followed rodents into villages, ships, farms, docks, and market towns. Humans kept building places where grain, scraps, shelter, and small prey gathered. Cats kept finding those places useful. The tail traveled through all of it, still serving the body and now appearing more often in human sight. A cat near a door could lift its tail toward another cat. A person nearby could see the same raised line and begin, slowly, to learn what it often meant. After enough generations of shared walls and shared evenings, humans became watchers of cat bodies. The tail, once a tool for movement and cat-to-cat signaling, became one of the clearest parts of the animal for human eyes to follow. A person sitting quietly in a room can learn a great deal by watching one cat cross the floor. The cat may enter from the hallway with the tail lifted. Its steps may be slow and familiar. The ears may face forward, and the body may pass close to a chair leg before the cat turns toward a hand, a bowl, or a favorite sleeping place. After enough evenings, the shape begins to feel recognizable. The person does not need a formal lesson. The pattern teaches itself through daily life. A raised tail appears often when the cat approaches calmly. A lower tail may appear when the cat enters a new room or hears an unknown sound. A tail tip may twitch while the cat watches birds beyond the glass. The meaning comes from repetition. The tail is easy for humans to notice because it changes the cat's whole outline. A cat with its tail upright looks taller. A cat with its tail wrapped close looks smaller and more contained. A cat with the tail stretched straight behind the body looks focused on where it is going. The same animal can seem different in a single second because the tail has changed the shape of the body. People are strongly visual creatures. Human eyes are drawn to edges, motion, and contrast. A tail gives all three. It moves against the still background of a wall. It curves against the flat line of a floor. It rises above the back where the eye can follow it easily. This makes the tail one of the first cat signals many people learn, even before they understand the ears, whiskers, shoulders, or distance. A cat's communication is larger than the tail alone. The ears can turn toward a sound or flatten during tension. The eyes can narrow, blink slowly, open wide, or fix on a target. Whiskers can angle forward when the cat is interested in something close. The body can lean toward a person, turn sideways, crouch near the floor, or pause at the edge of a doorway. Distance matters too. A tail flick from across the room feels different from a tail flick beside a hand. Humans become better tail readers by watching the whole scene. A cat walking toward the kitchen with a high tail, relaxed back, and soft steps may be expecting a familiar routine. A cat entering a visitor's room with a low tail and slow movements may be taking in new scent, sound, and space. A cat at the window with ears forward, eyes fixed, and tail tip moving may be locked onto the tiny jumps of a sparrow, a moth, or a leaf in the wind. The tail does not translate the cat into human words. It gives a visible clue. The rest of the body gives the setting for that clue. This kind of learning builds quietly. A person notices that the cat's tail rises before morning food. The same tail shape appears again near the front door after school or work. The cat may lift the tail when a familiar person speaks softly from across the room. Over months and years, these repeated moments become a private map of one animal's habits. The map belongs to that cat, that home, and those routines. Another cat may carry its tail differently. A bold cat may walk through new rooms with a high tail. A cautious cat may keep the tail lower until the space feels known. An older cat may move more slowly than a kitten, and the tail may show smaller changes. Observation keeps the meaning gentle and accurate. The human becomes a watcher of patterns rather than a guesser of hidden thoughts. This is part of the bond between cats and people. A cat can remain quiet, private, and very much itself, while still becoming familiar through visible signals. A person can learn the cat's approach, hesitation, focus, and comfort through the shapes the body makes again and again. The tail helps because it is large enough to see from a doorway, a sofa, or the far side of a dim room. It turns small changes inside the cat into a shape outside the cat. Once people begin reading those shapes, the tail starts to influence how the whole animal feels to human eyes. The curve, height, stillness, and motion of the tail become part of the cat's emotional silhouette. That silhouette can change before the cat takes another step. A tail held straight up can make a small cat seem taller in the room. A tail curled over the back can give the body a lifted, open shape. A tail tucked close to the belly can make the animal look smaller and more guarded. A tail wrapped around the paws can turn the whole body into a neat, resting circle. A bristled tail, with the fur standing out, can double the visible width of the tail in an instant. These shapes matter because humans read animals first by outline. The eye catches the edge of the body before it understands every detail. A person may notice the high tail from across the kitchen before noticing the exact angle of the ears. A person may see the wrapped tail on the bed before noticing the slow blink or the relaxed whiskers. The tail is large, mobile, and set apart from the main body, so it changes the cat's appearance very clearly. This is why certain tail shapes feel emotional to us. A question mark tail, raised with a soft curve near the end, often seems welcoming. The cat may be walking toward a familiar person, moving between chair legs, or approaching a bowl at the usual time of day. The body is moving forward, the tail is lifted, and the whole outline seems to invite closeness. A wrapped tail gives a different impression. A cat may sit with the front paws tucked neatly together, while the tail curves around them like a soft border. The body looks contained. The movement has slowed. The cat may be resting on a blanket, a windowsill, a folded towel, or the warm top of a sofa cushion. Humans often read this shape as settled because the body has gathered itself into stillness. A twitching tail tip feels more active. A cat may be lying on the floor, while the last few centimeters of the tail move back and forth. Near the window, This can happen while the cat watches a chickadee, a moth, or a leaf moving outside the glass. Near a toy, it may happen just before the cat reaches with one paw. The body looks quiet, yet the tail tip shows that attention has sharpened. These readings become stronger because cats communicate with posture combinations. The tail works with the ears, eyes, whiskers, body angle, and distance. A raised tail with relaxed ears and an easy walk often belongs to a calm approach. A low tail with a slow step through an unfamiliar room may belong to careful investigation. A fast-moving tail beside a tense body asks for more context before a person assumes what it means. The whole cat gives the message. The tail gives one of the most visible parts. A cat's ears can rotate towards sounds, helping the animal locate small noises that people may miss. The eyes can open wide in dim light, and the pupils can change size as light and arousal change. Whiskers can point forward when the cat is focused on something close. The tail joins these signals by changing the cat's outline in a way humans find easy to remember. This is where cat state and human perception meet. The cat's body is responding to balance, attention, comfort, caution, or social approach. The human eye turns those visible body states into a feeling. The feeling may be warmth when the tail rises at the door. It may be quiet satisfaction when the tail curls around the paws. It may be curiosity when only the tip moves, while the cat stares at the corner of the room. These are careful human readings of visible animal states. They become more accurate when they are held gently, with attention to the whole scene. A cat does not need to think in human words for its body to be expressive. The expression is in the movement. It is in the curve of the spine, the angle of the ears, the speed of the step, and the tail drawing a clear line through the air. Over time, one person may come to know one cat's shapes very well. The high tail near the doorway, the loose tail after a meal, the wrapped tail before sleep. The cat becomes familiar through patterns repeated across months and years. That familiarity can feel deeply emotional because it is built from real observation. The tail helps give that observation a visible form. It turns small changes in the cat's body into a shape a person can see and remember. Even so, the tail should be read with patience. A single flick may seem clear at first glance, while the full meaning depends on the room, the sound, the body, and what the cat is watching. A single movement can look simple from across the room. The cat lies on its side near the window. Its paws are loose. Its chin rests near the floor. Only the tail tip moves, sliding a few centimeters one way, then back again. That small flick can make a person wonder what the cat is feeling. The answer depends on the whole scene. Cat communication is multimodal, which means several kinds of signals work together at the same time. The tail gives one signal. The ears add another. Eyes, whiskers, body tension, distance, and movement direction all change the meaning. A tail flick near a window may belong to focused watching. Outside the glass, a sparrow may hop along a branch. A moth may tap against the screen. A leaf may move in short jumps across the patio. The cat's eyes stay fixed. The ears face forward. The whiskers may angle slightly ahead of the muzzle. In that setting, the tail tip can show attention building inside a body that is still waiting. During play, a similar movement may appear. A toy mouse rolls under a chair. The cat crouches low with the hind legs folded and ready. The tail tip moves while the shoulders stay still. A moment later, one paw reaches under the chair leg. Here, the flick belongs to excitement and preparation. The body is active before it has fully moved. Petting can create a different scene. A cat, resting beside a person, may enjoy touch for a while, then begin moving the tail more firmly. The ears may shift sideways. The skin along the back may ripple. The head may turn toward the hand. Those details can show that the cat's body is becoming more activated and may want space. The tail gives a clue, while the rest of the body explains how to read it. An unfamiliar sound changes the meaning again. A box might settle in the hallway. A car door might close outside. A footstep might pass near the room. The cat's tail may flick once as the ears rotate toward the sound. The pupils may grow wider. The body may pause halfway between resting and rising. In that moment, the tail belongs to alertness. The cat is gathering information. This is why fixed tail dictionaries can be misleading. A flick does not carry the same meaning in every room, at every hour, with every cat. The motion shows arousal. Arousal in animal behavior means the body has become more activated. That activation can come from interest, play, uncertainty, frustration, hunting focus, or social contact. The tail shows that something is happening in the nervous system. Context shows what kind of situation the body is answering. Reading the whole scene keeps the observation gentle. A relaxed tail flick from a cat watching birds through glass has a different feeling from a fast tail movement, beside tight muscles and flattened ears. A slow wave while the cat lounges on a blanket may mean something different from a sharp lash during intense play. Distance matters as well. A tail moving on the far side of the room gives the cat space. A tail moving quickly right beside a hand asks for closer attention. The cat's direction of movement adds more information. Moving toward can suggest interest, greeting, or investigation. Turning away can suggest the cat wants more distance. Holding still can mean the animal is deciding what to do. Domestic cats are careful communicators because they live through small changes. A chair shifting across the floor. A bowl being set down. A familiar person entering the room. Another cat stopping in a doorway. Each event can change the tail, ears, eyes, paws, and posture in a slightly different way. Over time, a person learns by watching patterns. The same cat may flick its tail before pouncing on a ribbon. Later, it may flick the tail during brushing when the body has had enough. At night, it may flick the tail once at a sound in the hallway, then settle again when the room stays calm. The tail is still one of the clearest signals a human can see. Its meaning becomes kinder and more accurate when it is read as part of the living animal. A quiet flick invites attention to the full body. The ears listening, the pupils changing, the whiskers shifting, the muscles holding or softening. Some tail changes remain subtle like this. Others transform the cat's outline in an instant, as fur rises along the tail, and the body suddenly looks much larger than it did a breath before. A sudden sound can change the tail more quickly than any slow flick at a window. A spoon slips from a counter and lands on the kitchen floor. A box shifts in the hallway. A door closes harder than expected, and the cat pauses with one paw lifted. For a breath, the whole body seems to gather itself. The back may rise, the legs may stiffen, the eyes may open wider. Then the tail changes shape. Smooth fur lifts outward until the tail looks thick, round and bristled, almost like a soft bottle brush. This change has a name. It is called piloerection. Pilo means hair. Erection means standing up. Piloerection simply means the hairs are being pulled upright. The same basic process gives people goosebumps, though a cat's fur makes the effect much easier to see. Each hair grows from a tiny pocket in the skin called a follicle. Attached to many follicles are small muscles called erector pili muscles. When these muscles contract, they tug on the follicles and make the hair stand more upright. On a cat's tail, where fur covers a long visible surface, the result can look dramatic. A tail that was narrow a moment earlier suddenly appears much wider. This body response is controlled by the sympathetic nervous system. That is the part of the nervous system that helps prepare the body for quick action. It can increase alertness, sharpen attention, and make muscles ready to move. A cat does not decide slowly to puff the tail. The response can happen fast because the nervous system is reacting to a sudden change in the environment. The sound may be harmless. The body still answers first. A dropped book, a strange knock, a new appliance starting up, or an unfamiliar cat beyond the window can all bring the body into a more activated state. The tail shows that activation in a visible way. The fur rises, the tail thickens, the outline of the cat becomes larger. Making the body look larger is useful in many animals. A bird may raise feathers. A dog's hackles may lift along the back. A cat can arch, turn slightly sideways, and let the tail swell into a larger shape. This larger outline can make the animal appear more noticeable and less easy to approach. For a small predator that is also small enough to be cautious, changing size through posture and fur can be a useful signal. It tells others that the body is alert. The bottlebrush tail often appears with other body signs. The ears may turn sideways or back. The pupils may widen as the cat takes in more light and movement. The body may rise high on the legs or curve through the spine. Sometimes the cat stands sideways, which makes the outline broader. The tail is the clearest part because it changes so visibly. A thin line becomes a soft plume. A smooth curve becomes a bristled shape. A quiet room can hold the whole moment gently. The spoon lies still on the floor. The person stops moving. The cat looks toward the sound, tail puffed behind it, body ready to decide. After a few seconds, the room gives more information. Nothing moves. No danger comes closer. The ears begin to return. The back lowers. The tail fur slowly settles until the shape becomes narrow again. This settling matters. It shows that the bottlebrush tail is a temporary body state. The cat's nervous system rose into alertness, then came back down as the scene became clearer. Seen this way, the puffed tail becomes easier to understand calmly. It is a visible body process. Tiny muscles lifted thousands of hairs. Nerves carried the alert signal. The tail became the surface where that signal could be seen. Later, when the house is quiet again, the same tail may lie smooth along the blanket. The body no longer needs to look larger. The fur rests flat. The spine softens. The cat can fold back into a compact shape, where the tail becomes part of stillness rather than a sign of sudden alert. As the fur lies smooth again, the tail returns to a quieter job. It stops making the cat larger. It stops sweeping through the air for balance. It becomes part of posture. A cat may lower itself onto a cushion and fold the front paws under the chest. Many people call this a loaf. The name is informal, but the shape is easy to picture. The belly rests close to the surface. The legs disappear beneath the body. The tail may lie along one side, curve around the front paws, or rest close beside the hind legs. In this shape, the cat has gathered its body into a compact form. Compact means held close together. A compact resting posture gives the animal fewer loose edges. The paws are protected under the chest. The tail is drawn near the body. The spine is no longer arched for alarm or stretched for motion. The muscles can hold less tension than they did during a jump, a turn, or a sudden startle. A curled sleeping cat shows the same idea in a rounder way. The head may bend toward the chest. The nose may rest near the flank. The tail may follow the curve of the body until the cat looks almost like a soft circle. This kind of posture can appear on a blanket, in a cardboard box, on the back of a chair, or in the pale square of sunlight on the floor. The tail helps complete the shape. It closes the outline. It brings the long end of the spine back near the rest of the body. At rest, the tail can also show that active signaling has quieted. A cat walking toward another cat with the tail upright is using a visible social signal. A cat crossing a fence with the tail extended is using the tail as part of balance. A cat startled by a sound may lift the fur along the tail through piloerection. A resting cat with the tail loose, smooth, and close to the body is showing a different state. The body has settled enough for movement and signaling to become softer. This still needs context. A tail close to the body can belong to deep rest, careful waiting, or a cat simply choosing a comfortable position. The ears, eyes, breathing, muscle tone, and surrounding room all help explain the shape. A sleeping cat with soft paws, half-closed eyes, and steady breathing gives a different picture from a tense cat holding itself low under a chair. The tail remains one clue inside the whole animal. Even in stillness, the tail keeps its structure. Those 18 to 23 small caudal vertebrae are still there beneath the fur. The joints still allow the curve. The muscles near the base still hold the position. Nerves still carry feeling from the skin, joints, and deeper tissues. A resting tail can look simple because the movement has slowed, yet the anatomy has stayed alive and responsive. A small sound may pass through the room. The cat may open one eye. The tail tip may move once, then settle again. That single motion shows how close rest and readiness are in a cat. The animal can be comfortable without becoming disconnected from its surroundings. For a small hunter with ancient habits, resting quietly still includes the ability to notice change. The tail at rest gives the script its softest physical image so far. Balance has become stillness. Communication has become posture. Alert fur has become smooth fur. The same body part has moved through walking, jumping, greeting, and startling, then returned to the calm curve beside the paws. This makes the shape of the tail feel important, even when the cat is doing almost nothing. A long tail changes the sleeping outline. A curled tail changes the seated outline. A shortened tail changes the whole silhouette of the animal from the first glance. That is why breed variation becomes so interesting. When the tail changes, the visible shape of the cat changes with it. Some cats are born with that changed shape already written into the body. A Manx cat may walk across a room with only a small rise of fur, where a long tail would usually trail behind. A Japanese bobtail may turn on a cushion with a short, kinked tail that looks almost like a soft pom. An American bobtail may carry a short tail that still moves visibly when the cat walks. A Karelian bobtail may have a tail with curves, bends, and a rounded plume of fur. These cats show that tail length is part of inherited variation. Inherited means passed from parents to offspring through genes. A gene is a set of biological instructions that helps guide how the body grows. In Manx cats, short-tailed traits have been linked to changes in a gene called T, also known as brachyury. Brachyury is involved in development along the back end of the body. During early growth, before a kitten is born, the body has to form the spine, pelvis, and tail region in the right order. A change in that instruction can lead to a shortened tail, or no visible tail at all. The Manx is strongly associated with the Isle of Man, an island in the Irish Sea, between England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over many generations, cats with short or absent tails became part of the island's identity. Some Manx cats have a tiny tail stump. Some have a short rise of bone and fur. Some have no visible tail, giving the back a rounded look as the body moves away from the hips. That altered outline changes how humans see the whole animal. A long-tailed cat may look like a flowing line when it walks. A Manx often looks more compact from the side. The hindquarters seem rounder because the long, tapering line of the tail is missing. The body still moves with feline control, yet the silhouette has changed. The Japanese bobtail gives a different version of shortened tail shape. Its tail is usually present, but short, bent, and carried close to the body. The fur can spread outward around the tailbones, making it look like a small pom or brush. Under that fur, the caudal vertebrae can be changed in shape, number, and alignment. Caudal vertebrae are the tailbones, the same small bones that form the long, flexible tail in many domestic cats. In Japanese bobtails, studies of the tail have found altered caudal vertebrae, often connected with the kinked or curved shape. Some tailbones may be angled, some may be fused, some may form a tail that bends in a way a long, smooth tail would not. This makes the breed's tail a skeletal feature as much as a visual feature. The outside looks soft and rounded. The inside is made from changed tailbones. Different short-tailed cats do not all come from the same biological path. A Manx tail and a Japanese bobtail tail can look shortened for different genetic and skeletal reasons. Breed names can make the shape seem simple, but the body underneath is more specific. Tail length can change. Tailbone number can change. Tailbone shape can change. A cat's outline carries those changes into every posture. When a Japanese bobtail sits, the little tail may rest like a puff behind the hips. When a Manx lies down, the back of the body may look smooth and rounded against the blanket. When an American bobtail walks across the floor, its shortened tail may still lift, sway, or signal in a smaller arc. The tail's roll shifts with the shape the cat has. A long tail gives a wide moving line through the air. A short tail gives a smaller signal. A kinked tail changes the curve and direction of movement. The cat still uses the rest of the body: eyes, paws, spine, ears, and inner ear. Variation in tail shape makes the anatomy more visible because it shows how much of the cat's appearance depends on this final part of the spine. A tail can seem like a surface feature until it changes. Then the whole back edge of the animal changes with it. That is the quiet seriousness inside these beautiful differences. The tail is fur, motion, signal, and silhouette. It is also bone. Because those bones belong to the spine's far end, inherited changes in tail shape sometimes reach deeper than appearance, into the way the rear body develops before a kitten ever takes its first step. That first step begins long before a kitten opens its eyes. In the womb, the back end of the body has to form in a careful order. The spine, pelvis, spinal cord, nerves, and tail region all develop from early tissues that are still shaping themselves. A small change in that process can affect the tail alone in some cats. In other cats, the change can reach farther into the rear part of the spine. This is why tail shape deserves gentle respect. The tail is part of the vertebral column, which is the full chain of bones running from the skull to the end of the body. Near the front, those bones support the neck and chest. In the middle, they support the back. Near the rear, they connect with the pelvis and continue into the caudal vertebrae, the tailbones. The tail may look like the softest part of the cat's outline, yet it belongs to the same body system that protects nerves and helps coordinate movement. In Manx cats, this connection can be especially important. Many Manx cats live active lives, moving through homes, climbing onto furniture, and resting in the same calm ways as other cats. Some have no spinal cord problems. Others can be affected by a condition often called Manx syndrome. Syndrome means a group of signs that can appear together because of the same underlying body difference. In this case, the difference is connected with shortened tail and rear spine development. Affected cats may have trouble with the hind legs. Their walk may look unsteady or weak. Some may have trouble controlling urination or bowel movements because the nerves in the rear part of the body are involved in those functions. These details can be spoken softly because they are facts about development, rather than reasons to fear every short-tailed cat. They simply show how deeply the tail belongs to the body. A kitten's tail is forming at the same time as the rear spine and nearby nerves. When development changes that region, the outside shape can be only one visible part of the story. A smooth, rounded Manx silhouette may look charming from across a room. A small tail stump may look like a harmless detail. Under the skin, the same region includes bones, joints, nerves, muscles, and the end of the spinal canal. This is why animal bodies ask to be understood with care. A cat's tail can be beautiful. It can be expressive. It can be funny when it twitches at a toy or curls around a sleeping paw. It is also sensitive living anatomy. The same is true for long-tailed cats. A sudden change in tail movement, walking, jumping, or bathroom habits is something a veterinarian can help evaluate. That kind of care does not need to feel alarming. It is simply part of noticing the animal clearly. A tail that suddenly hangs differently, seems painful, loses motion, or is paired with trouble walking, belongs in the same category as any other meaningful body change. The goal is attention, patience, and help when help is needed. This serious part of the story also makes the earlier beauty more grounded. The upright tail at greeting is not a symbol floating apart from the body. The balancing tail on a fence is not a magic trick. The bottlebrush tail is not just a dramatic shape. Each one comes from bones, muscles, nerves, skin, and fur working together. The cat signals are touching because they are real. They belong to a body that can move well, rest deeply, startle quickly, and show small changes in ways humans can learn to see. A person watching a cat with this knowledge may become more careful in the best sense. Careful with interpretation. Careful with touch. Careful with the habit of assuming too much from one motion. The tail is one of the clearest things a cat shows us, and it still has limits. It offers clues. It asks for context. It becomes part of a shared language when the human watches the whole cat. Ears, eyes, paws, distance, breathing, and the room around them. After the reminder that the tail is spine, the relationship can return with more tenderness and more accuracy. The cat can remain itself, quiet and unreadable in some ways, while the tail gives just enough shape for human eyes to follow. Following that shape well takes time. A person may live with one cat for years before noticing how specific its tail habits are. The morning tail may rise near the food bowl. The hallway tail may drift low when a delivery truck stops outside. The window tail may twitch in small movements while a chickadee hops along a branch. The blanket tail may curl close around the paws when the room is settled for the night. These repeated scenes teach more than any simple chart could. A cat's tail works with the rest of the body. Ear position changes the message. Posture changes the message. Distance changes the message. The room itself changes the message. A tail held upright is one of the clearest friendly signals domestic cats give. Behavior scientists often call this an affiliative signal. Affiliative means socially warm or connecting. A cat approaching with the tail raised, the ears relaxed, the body loose, and the pace easy, is giving a very different picture from a cat holding the same tail shape while the body is tense or the steps are stiff. The whole animal gives the meaning. That is why the best human-cat understanding comes from pattern recognition. Pattern recognition means learning what usually happens together. A person notices the tail, then the ears, then the pace of the walk. A person notices the sound in the room, the time of day, and the distance between the cat and the nearest doorway. Over time, those details begin to fit. One cat may greet with a tall, straight tail every time a familiar person comes home. Another may give only a small lift at the base, because that is how its body usually shows ease. A young cat may carry the tail high through the whole house. An older cat may move more slowly, with smaller tail motions, while still showing the same familiar patterns in a quieter form. Individual cats matter. A bold cat and a cautious cat can use the same tail shape with different timing. A kitten may swing its tail widely during play because the body is still learning control. A short-tailed cat may signal with a smaller motion near the tail base, while the ears, back, and walk carry more of the message. A long-haired cat may look larger when the tail lifts, simply because the fur changes the outline more. The signal belongs to the body that gives it. This careful reading keeps the bond grounded. The upright greeting at the doorway can feel welcoming because it often appears during friendly approach. The balancing tail on the back of a chair can feel graceful because the body is solving a real movement problem. The flicking tip near the window can feel mysterious because attention is active while the body stays still. The bottlebrush tail can feel sudden because the nervous system has made the body more alert. The resting curl can feel peaceful because the cat has gathered its limbs and tail into a compact shape. Each of these moments has a physical cause. That cause does not remove the feeling. It gives the feeling a place to rest. A person does not need to imagine human sentences inside the cat. The cat already offers enough through muscle, posture, scent, sound, movement, and routine. A tail rising in the kitchen. A tail easing down after a startle. A tail wrapping around paws on a folded blanket. These are small, visible facts of shared life. The relationship grows through noticing them again and again. Human beings and cats have lived near one another for thousands of years, from grain stores and docks to apartments, farmhouses, shelters, and bedrooms. Across that long time, the tail has remained one of the easiest feline signals for human eyes to follow. It is spine and bone. It is balance and movement. It is greeting and caution. It is rest and readiness. It carries limits because no single motion can explain a whole animal. It carries meaning because repeated motions in familiar moments can become deeply known. A cat may never be fully readable, and that is part of the calm beauty of living beside one. The tail gives a person enough to begin, enough to pause, enough to watch more gently. The room can grow quiet around that kind of attention until the whole journey returns to one simple image. A cat nearby, body settled, tail resting at the edge of sleep. Near the edge of sleep, the cat may become almost still. The tail that balanced the body across narrow places now lies quietly along the blanket. A small curve may rest beside the hind legs. The tip may touch one paw. Smooth fur may follow the shape of the spine, ending in a soft line that no longer needs to move. All through this quiet body, the earlier story remains. Beneath the fur, the caudal vertebrae still form the tail's hidden chain. Those small bones continue the same central line that runs from the skull through the neck, back, pelvis, and out toward the very end of the animal. The tail looks delicate from the outside. Inside, it belongs to the cat's frame. A sleeping cat does not show all of that structure at once. The body simply rests. The paws may be tucked. The shoulders may rise and fall with slow breathing. The ears may give one small turn toward a distant sound, then soften again. The tail may stay still through all of it, curved near the body like a final mark of the cat's shape. Earlier in the night, That same tail might have helped during a careful walk along a fence board, a sofa back, or the edge of a windowsill. A small shift of weight could bring the tail outward. A turn could send it into a slow arc. A landing could lift it behind the hips for one brief correction. Balance can look graceful when the body solves it quietly. The tail also carries the memory of much older movement. Long before cats lived near blankets, bowls, and doorways, animals with backbones were already shaping tails for many kinds of life. Fish push through water. Climbing animals use tails in trees. Early cat-like bodies moved through uneven places where a flexible line behind the hips could help with turns, branches, and narrow support. The house cat keeps its own version of that ancient tool. Domestic life changed the setting. The old body entered barns, docks, courtyards, kitchens, bedrooms, and quiet halls. In those shared places, the tail became easier for other cats to see and easier for people to notice. A raised tail could soften an approach. A tail moving low could keep a meeting careful. A tail curling around the paws could become part of a settled posture. Human eyes learn these shapes through repeated evenings. A person might never know every detail of what a cat feels. Still, the tail gives a visible beginning. The lifted greeting near the door, the flicking tip at the window, the sudden bottlebrush shape after a sharp sound, the calm curve around the paws before sleep. Each shape comes from a real body, with bones, nerves, muscles, skin, and fur working together. That is what makes the tail feel meaningful without needing to be turned into words. The cat communicates as a cat. A person watches as a person. Between them, the tail moves through the space they share. Now the room can grow softer again. The window may hold only darkness. A food bowl may sit quiet on the floor. A blanket may keep the cat's body warm enough for deeper rest. The tail lies close, no longer balancing, greeting, puffing, or signaling with any urgency. Even in stillness, it keeps its history. A final part of the spine. An old vertebrate pattern. A helper in movement. A visible signal. A shape humans have learned, slowly and gently, to read. The cat does not need to explain any of this. Its body has carried the answer all along. The tail rests where it belongs, at the edge of the animal, at the edge of the room, and perhaps now at the edge of your own quiet mind.